This is Dr. Heather Austin Robillard, and this lecture will go over the developmental assets approach to substance abuse and prevention. So, what is needed to be a good community? Here are the 5 promises of the top 100 communities. In top communities, they have an abundance of caring adults. This includes not just parents, but other adults, teachers, and counselors who offer a sense of caring. They feel like they have safe places to go. Children are given a healthy start from the beginning with healthy checkups, adequate exercise, and good nutrition. Children and adolescents are also given effective education that is relevant and engaging to them. And lastly, they are given opportunities to help others. This provides them a feeling of value, and they're able to recognize their own unique gifts and talents. The Developmental Assets Framework identifies skills, experiences, and relationships that increase a youth's ability to develop into a successful adult. It highlights people's strengths and focuses on the resources versus their problems. This is also a resiliency approach. It is part of the Developmental Assets Framework because it focuses on the protective factors that foster resiliency within youth. It also assumes that youth who are resilient are less resistant to the effects of risk factors. The fact is, the more assets a child has, the better. So, the developmental assets approach aims to build those assets in their children. There are 40 developmental assets that are divided into external and internal assets. Let's take a look at those. The external assets are the positive experiences and support a person receives from their formal and informal connections. This comes from adults to peers and even from the community. The 4 different categories for external assets include support from families, friends, and community, empowerment or the sense of being needed and valued, boundaries and expectations from their schools and from their families, or finding effective ways to occupy their time that are both healthy and constructive. Internal assets are those qualities, skills, or attributes that a community and family can nurture within their youth so that they contribute to their own development. They are also organized into 4 different dimensions. One is commitment. They have a commitment to learning in their schoolwork. They hold positive values like integrity, honesty, responsibility, and restraint. They have social competencies like cultural and conflict resolution. And they have a sense of positive identity like self-esteem or a sense of purpose. So let's take a look at some survey details for Lubbock County. This was done in 2009 by United Way to determine the assets in the Lubbock school districts. 1,037 LISD youth in the grades 8 through 12 participated in this study. 49% of it was made up by 8th graders alone. As you can see, it was fairly even between males and females. And here are the breakdowns for the different ethnicities. In this study, they determined how many assets the students had. 13% of students had the strongest amount of assets, which included 30 to 40 assets. 15% were in the struggling with 0 to 10 assets. And the majority of the youth fell into the category of 11 to 20 assets. Remember, the more assets, the better, and the less likely youth are to be involved in substance abuse. Some studies found that assets tend to decrease from when they move from 9th to 12th grade. This study also saw a slight dip in 10th grade for the number of assets that individuals had. In a community, there are 8 indicators that determine whether a community is thriving or not. This includes when youth are succeeding in school, when they are able to help others, when they value diversity, they are able to maintain good health and exhibit leadership. They are able to resist danger or dangerous situations. They can delay gratification and they have the ability to overcome adversity. Let's see how Lubbock is thriving. You'll notice that most of the individuals in the LISD survey fall into the mid-range, and it stays fairly consistent throughout grade levels, except for two areas. One, succeeding in school. Notice how that drops significantly after 8th grade. And then the one dramatically different than all the others is resistance to danger. What does that point to? Well, what it points to is they're less likely to engage in risk-taking behaviors. So here are the risk-taking behaviors in Lubbock. You can see that there's a gradual increase as the youth progress up the grades, and you can see that the three greatest risk-taking areas include alcohol, marijuana, and sexual intercourse. Here are the thriving indicators sorted by the students' number of assets. Youth with lower number of assets are typically lower on their thriving indicators, and they're always lower than the other asset categories. In fact, the higher the assets, the more thriving the indicators we see. Here are the risk-taking behaviors sorted by asset level. Those with the highest level of assets have virtually no risk-taking behaviors. These next few slides show how the youth reported on specific for the 40 developmental assets. Please take a look at these slides as they will help you in your class discussion. As you can see, family support provides high levels of love and support. Empowerment allows the youth to feel safe, and now they are of value to the community. Boundary expectations in Lubbock seem to be reported similarly, except with youth who have adult role models. You can see that the creative activities in youth is low. This includes things like 3 hours or more of activities like music and theater or arts. Here are the reports of the internal assets in Lubbock. Commitment to learning is low on the reports of doing at least 1 hour of homework every school day and reading for pleasure 3 or more hours a week. Positive values is higher in this community, except for the restraint, which is believing it is important to not engage in sexual activity, alcohol, or drug use. Social competencies like knowing how to plan ahead or making choices and seeking nonviolent conflict resolution are the lowest assets in this youth sample, whereas positive identity assets are higher in this community, with personal power or feeling that they have control over what happens to them being the lowest. So based on the statistics in this sample, how do we build assets in Lubbock? The principles for asset building include that all young children and adolescents benefit from having more assets than they have now. All adults, youth, and children can play a role in developing assets and spreading positive messages. Also, building assets is an ongoing process. It starts at the beginning of birth and continues on, even beyond high school. Relationships are needed. This is between adults and young people, between young people and their peers, and between teens and younger children. There needs to be a consistent positive messages about what is important. We all need to hear positive messages and feel support over and over by many different people. This is the end of this lecture. Thank you.